Hi, my beautiful chosen ones, my beautiful star seeds. This is Hatue's daughter here, once again with a wonderful message for you. So, yes, I am back with a book, and I'm going to use again the most popular book that there is right now, which has been the most popular book for centuries, which is the Bible. The reason I have chosen this specific book is because most of the population can relate to it. If you would like to know about the other books that I will be sharing with you, you can go back to the last video that I created where I have a stack of books that I presented to you, which are some of my favorite books. Those are books that were extracted from the Bible, and we will be reading from those as well. But as long as the Great Spirit lets me know that this is the book that I need to read from for right now, these are the books that I'm going to read from. I have two different ones here, but they are still Bibles. This one happens to be my favorite, which as you can see is the most beat up one because that's the one I use the most. I also wanted to let you know, as you already know, but if you're new in this channel, you would find out that I don't use the word God. I don't use the word Lord. I changed those words because they are not indigenous words to us. So when I say indigenous words, I am what you call a Native American. However, the real word is Native Indigenous person of the West. My tribe is called Taino of Arawak language, and I uphold who I am, not only for myself, but also as respect to my ancestors. So I also wanted to let you know that I have created this channel also in Spanish. So if you know anyone that speaks Spanish and they want to get some of the same messages that I am relating here, please share my Spanish channel. It is called La Hija de Hatue, La Mensajera. So it's basically the same thing. Hatue's daughter, the messenger, is just in Spanish. So let's get to some of these messages that I feel the Great Spirit wants us to share, wants us to learn from, and overstand. Obviously, I am not a card reader. You don't see any cards. I don't believe in card reading for myself. I do respect everybody that does card readings. However, I rather do book readings, and this is what I like. So whatever comes out is because it's a message that the Great Spirit wants me to share with you all. So I always like to give thanks to the Great Spirit. So thank you, Great Spirit, for uniting us here once again. Thank you, Great Spirit, for making whatever comes out when I open this book clear to all of us. Thank you, Great Spirit, for sending whatever messages you have for us. Please clean our hearts and clean our minds so that we can have a better understanding of what you are trying to say to us. Thank you, Most High. Thank you, Most High. All right, guys. So let's see. I'm just going to open to any page, as I usually like to do, because I don't have any selected pages that I want to specifically read from. So I'm just gonna go like this, I can go like this, and what do we have here? All right, so I have Chronicles 17. Let me make sure this is 17. Yes, it is. Chronicles 17, and I'm looking at, let's start with 1. Nathan's message to David. Another thing is, I think I made this clear on the last video. In here, the Native Indigenous land, and also in the Native Indigenous land of Africa, we didn't have any Davids. We didn't have any of the names that you will find here. David, Tom, Jerry, whatever they are. We didn't have those names. We actually had our indigenous names. And if you want to know about those indigenous names, and if you also want to know about the other books that I want to share with you guys, you can go back to the other video, the one before this one, where I am explaining a little bit further on that. Okay, so I will use the name that is given here because I do understand that our information was kind of twisted and changed around a little bit. So just to relate a little more, I am going to use the name that is here. So it says Nathan's message to David. King David was now living in a place. One day he sent for the prophet Nathan and said to him, "Here, I am living in a house built of cedar, but the Creator's covenant box is kept in a tent." Nathan answered, "Do whatever you have in mind, because the Creator is with you." But that night, the Creator said to Nathan, "Go and tell my servant David that I said to him, 'You are not the one to build the temple for me to live in. From the time I rescued the people of the land until now, I have never lived in a temple. I have always lived in a tent and moved from place to place in all my traveling with the people of my land. I never asked any of the leaders that I never asked any of my leaders that I appointed why they had not built me a temple made of cedar. So tell my servant David that I, the Creator, the Almighty, said to him, I took you from looking after sheep in the field and made you the ruler of my people. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have defeated all of your enemies as you advanced. I will make you as famous as the greatest leader in the world. I have chosen a place for my people, and I have settled them there, where they will live without being oppressed. Ever since they entered this land, they have been attacked by the violent people. But this will not happen again. I promise to defeat all your enemies and go with you and your descendants. When you die and are buried with your ancestors, I will make one of your sons king and will keep his kingdom strong. He will be the one to build the temple for me, and I will make sure that his dynasty continues forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son, and I will not withdraw my support from him as I did from Saul, who I removed so that you could be king. I will put him in charge of my people and my kingdom forever. His dynasty will never end. Wow. Once again, that was Chronicles 17, Nathan's message to David. I read it from 1 all the way to verse 15. Let's see, what is the Most High trying to say here? Well, sometimes we think that the Great Spirit wants something from us. And we may not really understand what the Great Spirit really is asking of us. And as David here is thinking that the Great Spirit is going to appoint him and is going to want to keep his covenant box with him. And the Great Spirit sent a message to him. It didn't even go directly to David. It went through a third party, saying that he's never asked for certain things. He had already something else in mind. So a lot of times, like I said, we think the Great Spirit wants something, and at the end, we find out that that is not what the Great Spirit actually was looking for. The Great Spirit, pardon me with that. The Great Spirit had another plan. And we're not supposed to get upset because whatever plans we thought were the correct ones were not. We're supposed to go along with what the Great Spirit is asking us to do. So maybe it's not you who is going to fulfill the destiny that the Great Spirit has. Maybe it's someone in your lineage. It could be your child or maybe another family member. In this case, it is definitely David's son, which I know it's King Solomon. So I overstand that what he's saying is the Great Spirit will not break the promise. Although the promise that the Great Spirit made with David is not going to end with David, it doesn't mean the Great Spirit won't keep the promise. So if the Great Spirit promised you something, you better believe the Great Spirit will keep the promise. The Great Spirit will never let you down. And the Great Spirit will definitely complete the promise, not only through you, but through generations of you. So your children and your children's children, as long as we can keep the laws that the Great Spirit sends us, we will fulfill what the Great Spirit is asking of us. But if we don't follow the laws, the covenant box, meaning the laws, the promise that we have together, the Great Spirit made a promise with us, with the selected children. And as long as we can keep that promise to him or her, then you will understand how you will receive everything that you've ever dreamed of. Because the Great Spirit will not break his promise. And you will see your generation prosper. But you have to teach your children how to keep the covenants. Wow, that was pretty beautiful. Notice how it says, passage 14 says, and I will put him in charge of my people and my kingdom forever. His dynasty will never end. So, the promise that the Great Spirit, the Creator, made to you is everlasting. As long as you don't break the promise that you made to the Great Spirit. That was beautiful. I'm going to read one more. Thank you, Great Spirit, for sending us this message. It was beautiful, and we're looking for one more beautiful message from you. Thank you, Most High, because I know that you want us to share, you want us to learn and understand what you're saying to us. Well, let's see. What do we have here? Oh, this is actually, I can even say my favorite. Awesome. This is Isaiah 35, and it's called The Road to Holiness. And it says here, I'm going to start at 3. It says here, give strength to hands that are tired, and give strength to hands that are tired, and to knees that tremble with weakness. Tell everyone who is discouraged, be strong and don't be afraid. The Great Spirit is coming to the rescue, coming to punish your enemies. The blind will be able to see, and the deaf will hear. The lame will leap and dance, and those who cannot speak will shout for joy. There will be a highway there called the road to holiness. They will be happy forever and forever free from sorrow and grief. OMG. Oof. As you can see, I wrote on it because it is so beautiful. I know there are times that we feel like we don't have the strength to keep going. We feel that we're discouraged, like we don't feel like the Great Spirit is listening, that what we've been asking for, the Great Spirit is ignoring us. We feel that our knees get weak, our voice can tremble, our heart feels empty. And the Great Spirit is saying, don't be afraid, because I am with you. I am with you, says the Great Spirit. So there's nothing to fear when you're with the Most High, when you trust in the Most High. It also talks about how the blind will see, the deaf will hear, and the lame will leap and dance. I see this as a metaphor because a lot of us hear but don't understand. A lot of us see, but we don't have true sight. And so when others try to inform us of the realities, we kind of close our mind and say, I don't want to hear it. That is being deaf and that is being blind. Because the Great Spirit has many messengers. And those messengers have been trying for centuries to teach us. But we don't want to hear them. We ignore them. We ridicule them. We insult them. I mean, I can say I'm one of those that I have given lectures in places and I have been told that I was off, that I was wrong. I was not invited back because the message that I was giving is not what they're used to listening to. They rather hear the same message over and over. But in my case, I don't read any book just to read it. I read to understand, to fulfill my heart and my soul. So when I look at the pages, I'm not looking at the pages, I'm looking through the pages. When I hear a message from a prophet, I'm not just listening, I'm understanding and absorbing the message. And once I can do that, once I have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you will see the joy, the happiness, the jumping up and down. And those that are lame, meaning you're just sitting there just waiting for something that you don't know if it's going to come. But once you understand the true message that the Creator is telling you, you will jump for joy, no matter how tired you are, no matter how scared you are, no matter how weak you feel, because you will be empowered. Like it says here, tell everyone who is discouraged to be strong and don't be afraid. The Creator is coming to rescue you. We're not alone here. We may think and feel alone at times, maybe because the Great Spirit is taking a little bit longer to reply to what we have requested. But it is not at our time. We're not the ones controlling our whole life. When you are in a spiritual journey, you know that your life is in a specific purpose, in line with a purpose that the Most High has sent you to. It is not the same as everybody else's life. Like, for example, I had a lot of things to do today and I was handling all of them. And in the middle of that, the Great Spirit, I heard the Great Spirit say, hey, go speak to the people. And even though I had a program already set up for my day, I had to stop it and come here and do this. Because your plans are not always the best plans. However, when you have the courage to stop what you're doing and go and speak to the people and send them the messages that the Most High is asking you to, it's a big deal. Whether they listen or they don't, you just blow the trumpet. You blow the horn and let them take it from there. So the first message that came out today was about your plans. Sometimes just because you're a chosen one, or maybe you're not a chosen one, or you don't know you're a chosen one, but whatever plans you have, they don't always have to be what you do. Excuse me. They may not be exactly what you end up doing. The Great Spirit may change those plans and you may be doing something else. You may think that through you, the world is gonna change completely. And it doesn't have to be that way, because the Great Spirit can use you and your lineage to fulfill whatever the Great Spirit has in mind. But one thing it did also say is that when the Great Spirit promises you something, the Great Spirit will always keep it forever, for you and for your children. As long as you can keep that promise, the covenant, the laws, you will always be safe. The second message here was, those that feel like the Great Spirit is not listening, the Great Spirit is listening. Those that feel alone, you're not alone. Those that feel discouraged, the Great Spirit is coming to give you those things that you have been waiting for. But don't get lost in the process, because sometimes we feel like it's been so long, but it's not. The Great Spirit will always take care of you. Well, guys, I will leave this message here. I love you all. Hatway's daughter here. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye now.